Reset Obywatelski.
Państwu przedstawić Ewelinę Negowetti, wspaniałą mamę zaangażowaną w działalność na rzecz dzieci transpłciowych. Cześć Ewelino, miło Cię poznać.
Cześć, miło mi bardzo, że się w końcu zobaczyłem.
Oj, cała przyjemność po mojej stronie. Powiedz, czym dla Ciebie jest ta dzisiejsza uroczystość?
Szczerze mówiąc, ja nie jestem taką wywalczynią na salonach, więc czuję się tutaj trochę nieswoją dzisiaj. Natomiast to jest na pewno fajna okazja do spotkania się z ludźmi, z którymi się widzimy bardzo często i w social mediach, których ja też podziwiam za pracę, które wykonują na rzecz całego naszego środowiska. Więc miło będzie mi zobaczyć te osoby na żywo i posłuchać o nich, zobaczyć i spotkać się z nimi.
A czy myślisz, że to ważne, że takie uroczystości się odbywają, właśnie celebrujące tęczową mniejszość?
Tak, tym bardziej wydaje mi się, że ta mniejszość to coraz bardziej jednak już tak bliżej jest może nie większości, ale jednak jesteśmy coraz mocniejsi i te imprezy też temu służą, żeby pokazać, że nas naprawdę nie ma tak mało.
Czyli Polska nie narodowa, a tęczowa.
Stanowczo tak.
No dobrze, to a powiedz coś właśnie o swojej działalności.
Ja to mam taką trochę działalność, mam wrażenie pełną chaosu, można powiedzieć, bo jakby cała moja działalność się skupia przede wszystkim na pomocy rodzicom dzieci transpłciowych i na pomocy nauczycielom, którzy chcą pomagać dzieciom transpłciowym, na pomocy lekarzom, którzy też potrzebują jakiegoś wsparcia, wiedzy, jak rozmawiać o transpłciowości, jak w ogóle do dzieci się odezwać, na co zwracać uwagę, na co nie zwracać. Więc moja ta działalność jest tak naprawdę taka edukacyjna, informacyjna, wspierająca, dodająca w zasadzie skrzydeł, żeby rodzice nie bali się zawalczyć o swoje dzieci, żeby trochę nie bali się być ambasadorami swoich dzieci.
Tak, to jest bardzo ważna rzecz, którą robisz. Dzięki Tobie już tysiące rodziców się po prostu odważyło wychowywać swoje dzieci w zgodzie z ich tożsamością.
Tak, i też myślę sobie, że jest mnóstwo rodziców, którzy naprawdę wystarczyło im tylko spotkać drugiego rodzica w podobnej sytuacji, w sensie rodzica dziecka transpłciowego, żeby dostać takich skrzydeł i żeby tak zmienić rzeczywistość wokół siebie, że ja tam gdzieś rzucam kamyczek, a tak naprawdę to się potem toczy. Ja tylko dostaję jakieś info zwrotne, jakichś lokalnych inicjatywach tych rodziców. To jest mega.
To wspaniale. Dziękuję Ci więc i życzę udanej zabawy.
Dziękuję wzajemnie.
Z Bartem Staszewskim, aktywistą. Bartku, dlaczego takie wydarzenia są ważne?
No to niezwykle ważne, żeby promować pewną kulturę równościową wśród firm, zachęcać też innych, żeby szli tą drogą, to znaczy drogą, która daje przestrzeń dla osób LGBTQIA+, do tego, żeby czuli się bezpieczni, do tego, żeby mogli pokazywać siebie własnych we firmach, no a z drugiej strony chcemy pokazywać pewne dobre wzorce i je promować.
Super. A dlaczego jest to ważne dla Ciebie?
Dla mnie osobiście to jest ważne, bo ja przez 8 lat pracowałem w różnych warszawskich korporacjach na tak zwanym mordorze i doskonale wiem, jak to jest ukrywać się w szafie, w własnej firmie, kiedy nie ma żadnych tak naprawdę żadnej przestrzeni, żeby mówić o sobie, żeby budować pewne relacje i pokazywać, że to też jest pewna wartość w firmie. Ona była na papierku, to znaczy zasady równościowe myśmy mieli wszyscy wpisane w pewien core, ale nic w tej sprawie się nie robiło. I ja się cieszę, że coraz więcej firm idzie w tym kierunku. Pojawiają się ambasadorzy równości, którzy działają w tym zakresie i pilnują, żeby te zasady równościowe też były zachowane i to jest pewien nowy standard, mam nadzieję.
W tym roku jesteś w jury tej gali. Co trzeba zrobić, żeby zasłużyć na nagrodę?
Wydaje mi się, że trzeba wykazać się pewnym rodzajem odwagi. wyjść poza pewien szablon, starać się pokazywać, że kwestie równościowe nie są tylko na papierze, ale są pewnym ważnym elementem działań firmy. I to wystarczy firmy, albo też ambasadorów równości, bo to są działania społeczne. Więc czasami trzeba być odważny, wychodzić ponad przeciętność.
Tego życzymy sobie i wszystkim nas oglądającym. Dziękuję bardzo.
Dzięki serdecznie.
Jestem z Julią Maciochą, z rozmowę z Parady Równości. Julio, wspaniale Cię widzieć na tym evencie. Co on dla Ciebie znaczy?
Jestem tutaj dzisiaj, żeby wspierać koalicję miast maszerujących. Parada Równości to już troszeczkę inna marka, inne święto. Bardziej zależy mi teraz na tym, żeby opowiadać o tym, jak ważna praca, jak dosadna praca dzieje się tak naprawdę w regionach, na tych marszach w mniejszych miejscowościach, a nie w Warszawie, gdzie de facto zrobienie marszu to już nie jest taka trudność.
No tak, mówisz, że tym trudniej jednak jest zrobić w mniejszym mieście niż marsz na 100 000 osób w Warszawie, tak?
Wydaje mi się, że troszeczkę operujemy teraz już innymi rzeczami. Nie? Jakby w Warszawie mamy dużą dozę do anonimowości, przepraszam. Mamy dużą dozę też takiego bycia w tłumie, tej radości z tłumu. W niektórych miastach, na przykład w zeszłym roku w Miliczu, najmniejsze miasto, w którym dotychczas przed Marsz Równości było 200 osób. To jest trochę inny, wymaga trochę innej odwagi obywatelskiej, wymaga to na pewno innej pracy. No i często osoby robią to pierwszy raz, więc wymagają troszeczkę więcej wsparcia od nas.
Jesteś teraz stypendystką Fundacji Obamy. Jak wrażenia?
Był to program, który zdecydowanie ukierunkował mnie na kolejne lata w aktywizmie, albo może nawet poza nim. Na pewno była to ważna rzecz dla mnie w tym momencie mojego życia. To był ten moment, kiedy potrzebowałam trochę czasu dla siebie, potrzebowałam troszeczkę odsunąć się od parady, zostawić trochę więcej miejsca mojej ekipie. No i proszę, wyszło wspaniale.
Jaki więc plan na przyszłość?
Tego jeszcze nie będziemy zdradzać.
No dobrze, dziękuję Ci bardzo za rozmowę.
Dzięki ogromne.
Jestem z Wiktorią Aleksandrą Barańską, organizatorką Marszu w Sanoku.
Tak, jedną z. Miałam większą ekipę, także nie zapominajmy o moich wspaniałych współorganizatorkach, osobach współorganizujących. Marsz udał się dzięki pracy kilku osób bardzo zaangażowanej i bardzo odważnej, bo też, żeby zrobić marsz w takim miejscu jak Sanok, trzeba naprawdę wiele odwagi, bo to jest coś takiego, o czym wszyscy myślą, że na pewno nigdy się nie wydarzy. I trzeba w pewnym momencie zapomnieć o tym wszystkim, zapomnieć o tym przekonaniu, że to się nie wydarzy i po prostu to zrobić. I my w tym roku zrobiliśmy.
No, już nas powoli wołają do sali. Opowiedz, no i udało się. Jak Twoje wrażenia z właśnie tej organizacji? Jak wrażenia na kolejną edycję?
Myślę, że to jest coś absolutnie cudownego, zrobić marsz w swoim rodzinnym mieście i przejście ulicami tego miasta, w którym się dorastało, w którym się walczyło z tą niepewnością, kiedy się jest młodą osobą i kiedy człowiek się zastanawia, czy wszystko z nim w porządku, czy jest sam na świecie z różnymi swoimi odczuciami, ze swoją orientacją, ze swoją tożsamością płciową. Więc dla nas to było super ważne, że mogliśmy w końcu zrobić to u siebie, nie tylko jechać do innego miasta i nie tylko być częścią tego wspaniałego, kolorowego tłumu w Warszawie, w Krakowie, czy nawet w Rzeszowie, który już był nam bliski, ale to jednak wciąż nie było to. A tu byliśmy u siebie i to było najpiękniejsze uczucie na świecie.
I jaki był odbiór marszu w Sanoku?
Bardzo pozytywne. Przyszło do nas około 300 osób. Był całkiem dobry odbiór także ze strony władz miasta. To znaczy może nie było to jeszcze objęcia honorowym patronatem, ale jedna z radnych zdecydowała się pojawić i przemówić. Nikt nie przeszkadzał jakoś aktywnie, więc było to i tak więcej niż się spodziewałam. Nie było żadnego oporu, nie było też żadnej istotnej kontrmanifestacji, było bardzo bezpiecznie, także myślę, że pełny sukces i tylko powtarzać w kolejnych latach.
Dobrze, brzmi super. Tak
Zapraszam za rok. wszystkich.
Postaramy się być. Znaczy ja na pewno będę.
Dzięki.
Teraz jestem z Piotrem Jaconiem, dziennikarzem TVN-u. Piotrze, czym jest dla Ciebie ta uroczystość?
Dużym wyzwaniem, bo ja nie za bardzo przepadam z takimi uroczystościami. Boję się gal, boję się chodzić na scenę. Telewizja tego nie zmienia. Telewizja jest wbrew pozorom kameralnej. Tam jestem tylko ja i kamera. No ale to też jest jakaś droga, bo ja też rok temu byłem tutaj, też byłem nominowany i też sobie myślę o tym, co się stało przez ten rok. To na pewno jestem silniejszy, taki, się będzie, że mądrzejszy, ale to źle zabrzmi. Znaczy, ja na pewno większą wiedzę, ale też bardzo wielu fantastycznych ludzi poznałem w tej wiedzę. Dużo jeździłem po Polsce i jeszcze mam zamiar, więc jeszcze tam jesteście do Poznania, jeżeli tam jesteście gdzieś. Fantastycznych ludzi, którzy też robią dobrą, tęczową robotę i oni ogromnie dużo energii dają takim nowicjuszom jak ja, bo ja dopiero zaczynam, ale absolutnie nie mam zamiaru kończyć.
No tak, właśnie w momencie tam roku swojej córki stałeś się bardzo aktywny w tęczowej działalności. Mam wrażenie, że sobie pomyślałeś, dobra, to zmienię Polskę dla niej. I jak idzie zmienianie Polski?
Że Polska to nie jest łatwy kraj, więc zmienianie niełatwego kraju też nie jest proste. Ale mam poczucie, że zmieniamy w tym sensie, że na przykład, że się policzyliśmy. Że ja policzyłem. Mówię właśnie o tych ludziach, których spotykam gdzieś po drodze, to jest ważne, żeby jak mnie pytasz Polska, to żeby to nie była jakaś abstrakcja, może jeszcze o zgroza jakaś taka niezbyt przyjazna abstrakcja, tylko żeby to byli ludzie, którzy są sojuszniczy i też aktywni. I jakby w moich oczach ta Polska się zmienia. Nie wiem, czy ona się zmienia jako taka, ale w moich oczach się zmienia. To jest taka bardziej moja Polska. Im bardziej ona jest tęczowa, tym bardziej jest moja.
To cudownie słyszeć. Ale właśnie na tych spotkaniach, które organizujesz, widziałem, że niedawno we Wrocławiu zaprosiłeś bohaterów swoich reportaży. Jak przychodzi na takie spotkania?
Są takie spotkania.
Tylko nasi, czy nie tylko?
Mam nadzieję, że to są też tacy, którzy chcą być nasi, ale jeszcze się trochę boją. Ale one są takimi spotkaniami informacyjnymi, że my tam się spotykamy, myślę właśnie też, żeby trochę zobaczyć, czy nie jesteśmy sami. Jak widzimy, że nie jesteśmy sami, to jest nam lepiej, tak bardziej pierś wypinamy do przodu i mamy więcej odwagi w sobie. I myślę, że właśnie ta współobecność jest najważniejsza. Znaczy, nie wiem, czy dla nich w sumie, ale chociaż nie, trochę też wiem. Na pewno dla mnie. Właśnie, bo powiedziałem, że chyba trochę wiem. Właśnie trochę wiem, bo oni mi o tym mówią. To nie zapomnę takiego spotkania w Koszalinie, gdzie długa kolejka się ustawiła przed książką. I stała tam kobieta, która chyba na tej książki ostatecznie nie miała. Tylko tam stała i chciała do mnie podejść. Się do mnie tak stanęła, spojrzała mi w oczy i powiedziała, że jak pana widzę w tej telewizji, to mnie jest od razu lepiej, bo ja wiem, że pana tak samo jak ja. Wszystko jest mi lepiej. Dzisiaj wiesz, to się tam skończyło i skończyło się ładnie. To właśnie, jak pytasz mnie o te spotkania, to one są takie.
No to cudownie tym akcentem myślę, że...
Ale nie płaczcie, znaczy płaczcie ze szczęścia, to jest dużo szczęścia w tym wszystkim.
Dziękuję Ci bardzo.
Hi, I'm with Jessicę Lynn, the famous educator, famous activist, global ambassador from Kinsley Institute, and expert for Oxford University.
To a certain extent.
Yes. Jessicę is the keynote speaker at this year's LGBT Diamonds Awards, and she gave a wonderful speech. about her life, about her experiences, about how the world should be. Oh yes, let me ask you, because you travel the world.
Yeah.
Only this year you will have been in all 5 continents. Not in Australia, but
Yeah.
but all other 5. I have this simple question. Even at the most progressive places, the world is at best harsh for trans community. How to change the world?
Forgive me, how is the changing in the world towards the community? You okay? Most people, believe it or not, when I travel the world, most people are open and accepting when I speak to them. You know, I do a lot of work in South Africa, and there was a lot of harsh communication saying it's a very negative community. But once you come in there and you say, "Hi, my name is Jessica, this is who I am," it breaks down that barrier. You know, the presentation, the slide didn't work last night, but I use a slide called, and it says, it's hard to hate someone whose story you know. So that's what I really, really try to do, is just to say, I'm just a normal, everyday person. So I happen to be transgender. So I happen to have blonde hair. So you happen to have green eyes. It's just part of who I am. It's part of who we are. Let's celebrate that. So I have found more and more acceptance around the world than I have found more negativity. So I've been to places like Turkey. I've been here so many times to Poland. I've spoken in Ukraine. So many different places around the world: Israel, Cyprus, South Africa, Thailand, Japan. Most people are accepting, and that is one of the most beautiful things about it. There is a lot of negativity towards the transgender community where I come from in America, where I live in England, but overall people are good. That's what I find. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. It's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Most people are not so too ideological, but just
there are some, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
all right, but they outweigh the good. If you watch them on the media, if you see people on TV in America, you have all of this hardcore people on the right wing right now taking away transgender health care. In the state of Florida, you have Governor DeSantis removing transgender health care for people. But overall, people are fighting back. People are overall good. When I come into a university and I share a little bit about myself, I do a workshop, I teach people about terminology, I teach people about microaggressions. More people are accepting than there are not. I've only ever had a few negative reactions around the world, believe it or not. I've spoken now roughly 2,000 times in 28 different countries, and I've only had a couple negative reactions. That ain't bad, is it?
It's not. No, it's not. It's pretty good. I think. How effective do you think this education is in engaging people to support our community?
I think it is incredibly effective. Okay. Everybody has a different way. We went to this conference last night. Okay. We did this conference and everybody, what was there? 250, 260 people there, right? It was live streamed. Everybody in that audience had a different story, a different journey, a different life, a different identity. Okay. And if we can share that with people, this is what makes the world beautiful, is diversity. So if you go to a place and you think, I want to tell you, for instance, I walked into a university, I think it was University of Fort Hare in South Africa. Okay. And I walk in and there's about 500-600 students, had 3 big screens on the thing. And the professor says, we have a transgender woman that lives in England that's coming from America, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself. 500-600 students started laughing. Okay, literally. I went in there and gave a presentation, roughly an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half. Half The students stood for an applause, and about 300 of them were queued up to ask me a one-on-one, to ask me a personal question. Constantly said, you changed my mind. I did not know this. I had no idea. I thought this was a choice. But when you share your story with your viewers, when I share my story with different people in wherever it is, this is what breaks us down. This is not a choice. This is who we are. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
You know?
Oh, but because that's also my story, obviously. So, what? Yesterday you gave. Oh, it was a great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
It wasn't an hour and a half long.
It was 7 minutes, and we had 2 or 3 minutes of hiccups with the PowerPoint. So I just said that one.
Rest of viewers are used to some hiccups.
Yeah.
and they're very accepting about it. For what I'm thankful. Well, what else do you speak about?
I do. What happened is, I mean, I told you a little bit about my story, but after my court case that I told you about in 2013.
Yes, this was a court case in which you lost parental privileges.
Yeah, a little bit about my story. I'll do a quick brief down. Is I was one of those transgender people that knew at a very, very young age, at the age of maybe 3, 4 years old. But I was born in 1965 in California, had no idea, no understanding. So I lived the fake life. I played boys' sports. I was pushing the boys' sports by my parents. I did things as coping mechanisms. I turned to alcohol and drugs and all this kind of stuff. And I played football, soccer, right? It was a coping mechanism. And whatever I did, I obsessed with. And I became really, really good, And then when I was 17 years old, I've always been attracted to men, you know what I mean, when I was younger. But it was like I said, it was when I was 17 years old, I met a young girl. She was 15. And I started a friendship with her, and I started a relationship with her. And I came out to her after being together for 6 months, and she accepted me, in 1982, just before we knew the term transgender. And she accepted me. We spent 4 years together. I proposed to her. Maybe one day these feelings will go away. I have no idea. And then Christmas of 1985, we were on our way home from work, and a drunk driver hit us and killed her. Okay, so I turned to drugs and alcohol, and about a year and a half later, I came out to my parents, who had always known that I was transgender. And it turns out that they had planned on transitioning when I was 5 years old, and they took me to a world famous psychologist at UCLA named Dr. John Money, and he convinced them, Jeff is a boy, immerse him in sports, it'll cure him. So my parents took the advice of the very best doctor in the world. And so they immersed me in sports and did that. So I came out to my parents, but in 1987, there's not a lot of literature. So I went through a few years, yes, no. And then I met another young lady. And before I was out with my sexuality, I still wasn't out to the world with my gender. And I came out to this young lady, and we started a friendship. We started a relationship. I ended up with 3 children. Divorced, and went through a nasty 3-year child custody battle. And I was given custody of all 3 boys, full legal physical custody. She was in a car accident. I let her back in the house to help support her, put her through medical school, and we made arrangements for me to start my transition. She said, I'll help you. And we started working together. The time came, she took the kids to Texas while I stayed behind in California, started doing my transition. We worked together. Everything was going fantastic. And then she ended up filing a lawsuit with the state of Texas to remove my parental rights to my youngest child, who was 12 years old at the time. Went into court. And the judge ordered me or go to jail to have a psychiatric evaluation done by a right-wing theology professor. He came back and said I was the better parent, and the judge would not allow it in the courtroom. And in June of 2013, a judge in Dallas, Texas, stripped all of my parental rights to my youngest child. On Christmas Eve, I received a letter from the court. The same judge had taken my name off my child's birth certificate for being transgender. And it's the first and only time in U.S. history. So my case went all the way to the Department of Justice, and they said there's not much you can do about it, but use your story to educate people. and it turned me into the activist I'm at today. So I started speaking about it at local community colleges, and it grew to UCLA, UC Irvine, USC, then to Harvard, to Stanford, to Yale, University of Pennsylvania, and then it came to England and started traveling the world, and it just grew and it grew. And I started off telling my story, but then it went into workshops. I trained the National Health Service in England. I've trained police departments. I've worked with police departments in the country of Cyprus. I teach professors about this. I train psychologists in South Africa. I do medical, not medical, but kind of medical. I'm not a PhD, but I teach people about terminology, about microaggressions, about how to be accepting to people of us in our community, to stop misgendering and that type of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And so this is what it is, just turned me into an activist, and that's what I do now, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I mean, I came in the night before last. We spoke last night. I'm here for a couple of days. And on Saturday, I fly to Spain. I'm at the University of Barcelona on Monday. Tuesday, I fly to Croatia. I'm at the University of Zagreb in Croatia. Then I'm maybe going to Switzerland, to Turkey, Slovenia, and it's just like that all over the world. It's crazy, huh?
Yes. That's, wow. Like in the book by Julius Verne.
I'm sorry?
Like in the book by Julius Verne. The world in 80 days.
Yeah.
So, and do you have contact with your children today?
Just my eldest. I have, my eldest son has been my biggest number one ally. During the court battle, he contacted his mom and said, "Can I come and see my brothers on Christmas?" And she actually texted him back and said, "You're never allowed in my household again." Okay. Because he supported his dad. Right. And so during the court battle, my eldest son was very, very supportive of me until the court battle happened. And then he turned sides. Okay. He was living with his mom. He hasn't even spoken to his brother, in which they were the very, very best of friends. And this is the negative mental poisoning that she has done to my children. I literally had 2 psychiatric evaluations. She requested it, and both of them came in my behalf, that I'm the better parent, and they judge wouldn't let them in. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But this is what's going on in the world right now. But again, if we can educate the next doctors, I do a lot of law schools, right? The next Supreme Court justices in America, I come here to Poland. Exactly. This is where we're going to make a difference. Sooner or later, 1, 2, 5 of those people, if we're in an audience, last night was a big LGBT audience, but if I'm in a university, at the University of Warsaw, that's what started me in Poland. I do stuff in Gdansk. I can't pronounce the names of some of these places, so I do apologize. Wrocław. Yeah, I was just there just recently. And if I can educate these students, this is where we're making a difference. Does that make sense? You do it with your television. I do it with students, with businesses, with corporations, with hospitals. Everybody has their different niche. Some people do it with writing. Some people do it with acting. Some people do it with singing. Everybody has a certain way. This is what I do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It
makes a lot of sense.
And we're all activists. You coming up here and doing this, you're a huge activist. Okay. This is how you're helping the world understand who we are. Does it make sense? I ramble a lot. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I saw the saying on the internet that in the harsh, homophobic or transphobic world, just going out of the house, just living your life is activism.
Yeah, so, it really, really is, and living our true gender. But I remember for years, I didn't transition until 45 years old, right? Every day waking up and looking in the mirror, living life as a man, I was suicidal. I would have ulcers. Younger, I turned to drugs. I turned to alcohol. And finally, when I started living my true gender, people would point at me and laugh at me and make fun of me. the thought of suicide never, ever entered my mind again. It was just going to take some time before I started living more comfortably, before I learned how to walk. I mean, when you transition later in life, it's more difficult. We have that male testosterone poisoning. And if you're born female, I live in as a male, you have that different, you're wearing binders, you have a softer voice. So until the hormones start working, until you start learning how to walk, your hand movements, your vocal patterns, it takes some time, but again, yes, I haven't seen my child. Yes, I would have loved to have done things a little bit differently, but I am now comfortable. I am now me. I am now who I am, who I'm supposed to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I am. I also transitioned. I was a bit younger than you, but still already an adult. My biggest fear, waking up, looking in the mirror, the first time of the day, was that one day I might go bald, and it was panic that greeted me every day in the morning. So until I finally accepted myself for who I am.
Yeah. How old were you when you transitioned?
I was 25.
Good for you. Yeah. How about your family support, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, it's I hadn't had much support growing up, but when I came out, it was a whole process where obviously I started transitioning a few years before I came out, and also the hormone signs from taking hormones started showing up, obviously, but also my whole expression started change. I started to dress differently, although now not to my old acquaintances, but I started also going out as a girl.
Yeah.
So and when I started, I couldn't stop. So I just chose for the meetings that I was in the other social role. I started choosing female clothes, but which could pass as extravagant male ones. And I obviously didn't.
Yeah.
I totally also looked like a girl, but I felt fine, and I felt safe. Yes, it was. So when I finally came out to my mother, she was like, okay, for a year, now for about a year, me and my husband see that something is going on with you, and we were wondering what. And that a day will come when you will come and say, "Mama, I want to talk about something." So she was somewhat prepared for a talk. She was still in a big shock.
Yeah.
But it changed her mind about many things about that consider LGBTQ
community.
people.
Yeah.
And
usually that's what happens. I have a very good friend of mine named Debbie Jackson, and Debbie is the mother of a young trans kid, right? Made the front cover. If you remember, I don't even know how many years ago, it was 6-7 years ago, the front cover of National Geographic, where you had a pink-haired Avery Jackson on the front cover. That's Debbie. Debbie is that child's mother, right? So Debbie, prior to that, I know Debbie and Tom, her husband, and before that child, before that child came out, Debbie and Tom were hardcore right-wing, Bible thumping conservatives. But now when this child came out, Debbie is one of the biggest activists in the United States right now on child and children, you know what I mean? So it really helps it. So when it hits home, it does help sometimes, you know? And you're lucky. Sometimes people get kicked out of the house, and this is what we need to stop. But overall, there are a lot of people that are more open and accepting. And this is what I have found. Different parts of the world, right? You know, I was just invited to go to Pakistan. It's a Muslim country.
Well, they have just a different culture, and the tradition of third gender.
So it is interesting, you know, and it's just different areas, different things, different cultures. I spent 3 weeks in India. They have the Hijra community there, and you know, I loved India, but it was the poverty I hated seeing in India, because you have the caste system there, and that's another complex situation just on its own, you know. But no, overall, like I said, you know, your mom is supportive of you. My dad never saw me transition because he had passed away a long time ago, but my mom's supportive. My eldest son, Jeffrey, is supportive. I have support from all my friends. I still have a huge amount of the same friends. You know, I have more friends now than I ever had as Jeff, but it's literally amazing the amount of people that stood by my side, you know. One of my brothers didn't, and that's okay. The hell with him. You know what I mean? But I don't look at it. Ping.
I know. Well, most of the people I knew disappeared from my life.
Oh, really?
But my family wasn't as very accepting. My close family and my further family. So that was very helpful. I renewed some older friendships after the transition. I got great new ones.
That's what I have found is I have some incredible friends all over the world, from South Africa to Japan to whatever, and I have you now as my friend. You know what I mean? So I made friends with, how do you say her name? Kayah.
Kayah, yes.
You know.
So last night the star of the evening, the musical star, artist performing was Kayah. And well, you made friends. You just said you're going to out for dinner.
So she's super nice. I mean, she's just like, you know, I never met her, and I don't know Polish music, and we just became instant friends. I mean, she's just adorable. I mean, beautiful. But I get confused sometimes with the accent. I thought it was Kayah, but I heard somebody saying Kasia, and I don't know if it was a different. That's a Polish accent, or you know.
No. Kayah is her stage name. And Kasia is her formal name.
Okay, and so that's why I asked you if I misunderstood.
But everybody knows her by Kayah. So.
Yeah, I know she's pretty popular here, you know.
Yes, she is, and she's got a great voice. It's not just she's popular; she's so talented. She's such a great artist, such a great singer.
Yeah, we're talking about collaborating some work together.
Oh, really?
You know, to do for the transgender community. Oh. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yes,
you know,
it would be outstanding.
So we're going to talk about it tomorrow.
Oh, great! I hope you do.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, she's busy. I'm busy. You know, but I'm in Poland quite often. I do love Poland. I do really. I love it's got a horrible history of World War II. You know, my parents grew up in England, and that's why I'm a dual citizen of England, and I moved back to the UK. I do live in England. But when I'm here, I love to go and learn. I read books, just like we were just talking to your book. I hear, you know, the uprising, the Warsaw Uprising. I want to learn, and I go visit some of the museums. And I don't know how many times I've been to Poland and to Warsaw in different parts of the country, but I'm in love with the people, you know, and you guys are so beautiful, you know what I mean? And so, like I said, I'm going to continue doing some more work here. You know, we made a lot of connections last night at the event, and we got some corporate talks, we got some university talks coming up. I connected with the English embassy, you know, and Kayah, and so maybe you guys will see me around, you know, you know, and yeah, you know, not on billboards. I'm not popular like that. I'm popular in the universities, you know what I mean, in that kind of stuff. But that's where my specialty lies, you know, and so if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Do you? Yeah, you travel so much. Do you find time to just be at home and do stuff?
I work a lot. Okay, I really. The year prior to the pandemic, I had just moved to the UK, and I had literally spent 320 nights. I think it was 2019 or 2020, 2019. I had spent roughly 320 nights in hotel rooms. That's how much out of 365, you know. I travel a great deal. I've now spoken in 28 countries. I've traveled over 1 million miles. I have a problem is I cannot sleep on an airplane. So I'll fly 16 hours from Los Angeles to Dubai. I'll sit in the airport for a few hours and I'll fly to Johannesburg, and you know what I mean? And it's awful. So I read a lot, you know, and that's why I was asking him if he had any good books. But one of
Yeah, I once was in New York, so I flew for 9 hours, but I just went to sleep at the start of it and woke up at the end.
I can't do it, you know? And one of the things that I do, it's my new hobby, is like I said, I travel the world and I talk to universities and I talk to different businesses and stuff like that. But what happened, then the pandemic hit and it shut down all my presentations, okay? So we just went completely cold. And remember when it happened, okay, tomorrow we're going to be back on the road. And the next day we're going to be back. We didn't know, another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And it just grew on for roughly 2.5 years. So in the beginning, then I would get saying, okay, let's do a Zoom came out. We said, let's do some online presentations. Then Microsoft. And I didn't want to just do a presentation and being on the corner like this. So I said, okay, let's experiment. And I bought a screen to do and a projector. I had one of those little cameras, you know, those little over the head cameras, and I did that, but it was awful, right? Because it had me dark. And then so we went and I bought a 63-inch television, and I have a full studio in my living room right now, so I can do online presentations no matter what time of the day. And that's what started me, kept on going and started just really doing a lot of outreach. And I can do a lot of corporate talks like that. And it's not just me in the bottom corner. I was able to continue doing that type of stuff. Does that make sense? But I forgot what I was getting at. You asked me something.
Yeah, I asked you what do you like to do in your free time?
That's what I started up. Yes,
apparently.
that's what it started off. Then what happened is I needed a new camera. Okay, and that's what led to that conversation. And I went with a Canon 80D. Okay, as you have the a Panasonic here, and I went with a Canon digital camera. Okay, yeah. And then what happened was, and then I started messing around. I said, that camera's too nice to be sitting there as a film camera, right? So I went and bought another one, and I took my camera Canon, and now when I go to the places, I go to photography, right? So that's my hobby. So when I just spent 5 weeks in South Africa, and I take my camera and I go shoot, I have video, right, of me wrestling with white lions. White lions, I'm literally wrestling, right? You go see the peacocks, you go see the zebras, you see the giraffes. We were driving along this highway and we had to stop because the giraffe wouldn't get out of the road. You know, so if I come here to Poland, I go to Old Town and I go take the pictures of the buildings, and I love that stuff. You know, I love unique photography. I was in Gdansk and you got the old buildings, you know, the water, and it's really, really pretty.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
The first time I was there, I just fell in love.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that, wow, this Gdańsk old town, at every corner somebody had to be murdered sometime.
Yeah, it really is. You go to Old Town State. See, I got the stone from Gdansk. You know, it's the
Amber.
the amber. You know, and so like Jurassic Park, I wanted the thing in there. But you know, that to me is just a little remembrance. And I've been to Amber. I mean, I've been to Gdansk a number of times. We've done some talks down there, and but it's really, really interesting, you know. But this is my thing. So now when I travel, I take my camera with me, and tomorrow morning I have a little bit slow of a schedule. I'm going to go probably to Old Town and do some photography. I have a presentation to give at 3 in the morning to a university in the United States, you know, online. And then so I'll do that. And then when I go to Barcelona on Saturday. I can go do a little photography on the beaches and stuff like that. And then Croatia and Switzerland. You know what I mean? This is my new hobby. That's my new escape now, is photography. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I'm a photographer myself.
Are you?
Yeah, so like I told you, by education and trade, I'm a visual artist.
Yeah.
And I'm doing interviews. Well, just because I am, because I wanted to, and so yeah, I'm also really into photography.
I'm probably not as good as you are, but you know, I go to if I go to Slovenia, the professor that brings me into Slovenia, he takes me to the foothills of the Alps. You know, we go into, and the lakes are just pure green and blue, just beautiful. And so I'll do that in a couple of weeks. And you know, like again, in South Africa, it was just literally unbelievable on how much stuff you can photograph in South Africa, you know.
I can only imagine.
I was at the professor that brought me into Fort Hare. I stayed at, she has a house, she has her husband and a couple of kids. She has a grandma's house in the place, right? And literally I come walking out it and there's monkeys all over the trees. You know, this is in her backyard. I'm sitting there talking to her husband. Suddenly he goes running outside and starts screaming, "Get out of here, get out of here." And this monkey about this size is trying to get in the house. You know, where else in the world?
Yes, like you said, you do presentations at universities, but also at corporate events. And yesterday was a pretty corporate event, because we also have other Rainbow Gala. That is organized by activists, by rainbow organizations, and there are also awards, the crowns of equality.
Yeah.
Although it's you know, recognizing us and also other people for doing things for us. But this yesterday's event was different. It was recognizing corporations for mostly for doing things for our rainbow community. How important is it that places of work see that minorities have additional needs and additional challenges, and that they just can be seen and can feel safe?
I think it's super critical. In corporations, there were some pretty big ones last night. If you saw the big board,
Microsoft, Google,
JP Morgan,
Paribas,
John Deere tractors, Accenture. I've been doing a lot of work with Accenture over the years. That's what brought me to Poland, besides University of Warsaw, but I started doing that. But corporations are looking at it saying it's better for business when we're open and accepting. You have a lot of intelligent and incredible talent in the LGBT community, but if we discriminate against people in our community because we don't identify as the gender we're born, or if two men want to be in a relationship, oh, we're not going to give that person a job because they're gay or they're lesbian or they're bisexual, you know, that's going to be an issue. So corporations have learned that it is better and more convenient for them to be more open and accepting. For instance, I'll tell you a personal story, right? Is in about 2013, when the judge stripped my parental rights, one of my coping mechanisms, I used to own a clothing boutique. When I transitioned, I owned a clothing boutique in California called Jessica's Closet. What a cool name, huh? Right? It was a used clothing boutique in Grover Beach, California, Pismo Beach. It was right near the ocean. And I used to love to go to other shops to look at clothing. I love clothing, right? Love clothing. And it was a Friday evening. It was a few days after the judge stripped my parental rights. I was really upset. I was down. And I took a walk to a place called Marshall's. And it's kind of like TK Maxx, right? And I go in there and I'm wondering, and most of the people in there knew me because I enjoy this, right? They sell a clothing called Free People, and it's just something I enjoy doing. So I grab a few items and I go to the dressing room. And the young lady behind the counter, she wasn't that young. She looks at me, she goes, well, you'll have to use the men's dressing room.
Oh,
And I said,
no.
excuse me? She goes, well, you know. And I swore at her. I threw something at her and I grabbed the ticket and I went in there and I literally was just shaking. I was so upset. I didn't try on the clothing, came back, threw the clothes at her, swore at her, and walked out. This is, like I said, a few days after they took my child from me. I walk outside, I'm going to the car, and the manager caught wind of it. Okay. She came running out there and chased me out there. And I sat out there, just told her what had happened. Turned out that this lady, one of the coworkers, had told her I was transgender. She took it upon herself. That company, Marshall's, used that experience to train the whole Western United States on transgender health, transgender issues, so that when we go into a dressing room, we're not going to get kicked out. It made a difference. It made that better. They fired that lady. She did it out of spite. She had no idea I was transgender, right? But somebody told her, so that was her way of getting back at me. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That was her religious beliefs, whatever. So corporations have found it better and more useful to be more open and accepting. And this is where it comes from, just that type of situation. More inclusive, more diverse workforce, you're going to have a better company. And so, like you said last night, these corporations, I work with a lot of business schools in university, like Indiana University. I do a lot of their stuff. And so when I go to different corporations, like I said here, I've done a lot of stuff for Google, JP Morgan, Accenture, Hewlett Packard, NatWest. I've done a lot of Skanska, a lot of these different giant corporations here in Eastern Europe. And I've been doing a lot of that type of stuff, training. It makes their companies more accepting. It helps them understand that we're just normal, everyday people. Like I said, so I have blonde hair. I like Staffordshire Pit Bull Terriers. I love Mini Coopers. This is just a description of who we are. You know what I'm saying? In this way, we can break down those barriers and to make the world a more open and accepting place. I ramble, sorry.
No, it's just such a beautiful vision. Many companies here are still yet to learn that stuff.
Around the world, not just here.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? But they are moving on the better way. They really, really are moving towards the better behaving.
Yes, I feel that like I said, although many are yet to do stuff about their way of coping with LGBTQ employees. many also have found their ways, are bettering themselves, are improving their standards, and I feel that in many places people just feel more at home than coming into the office than coming out of it back into the world surrounding them. How much do you think this change in business can influence change in politics?
I think it can do a huge amount because businesses control politics, don't they? You know what I'm saying? They kind of control the money, financial things, and you see it in America, you see it in the UK, you saw it in the state of Florida, in the United States. You had Governor DeSantis. If you know anything about United States politics, right? You have Florida. You have Governor DeSantis come in and says, "Don't say gay bill." And what did Disney come in and say? "F you. We're not going to buy by it." He went after Disney, but they pushed him back. Disney is the biggest employer in the state of Florida, and they pushed back and says, "You're not going to tell us that we can't do this kind of stuff." You know, they push back. These are the people that fund these politicians. So if they want to be more inclusive, I think more and more people are becoming. Look how many ambassadors we had there last night.
Yes, we had Mark Brzeziński, who not only is just U.S. ambassador, he's son to modern Polish hero. So Zbigniew Brzeziński, who was who came from Poland and was in American administration.
Yeah. I wanted to meet him last night, but he was on with the Secret Service, so and I'm a danger. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Secret Service.
No, he mentioned me during his presentation. When he mentioned something, I said it was like, you know.
Yes, he was very, very engaged. He was very passionate about furthering LGBTQ rights.
Equality, yeah. And the thing is he did say, talking about the Biden administration, I had a conversation with somebody this morning or last night saying, you know, you heard me going up there and saying that I lost my parental rights, and then he comes up and says, look how good the American government's doing. But that is the Biden administration. My case happened during the Obama administration, but you still had some right wing. This is a right wing. The judge that took my child away from me was appointed by a right winger. Okay, I can't remember his name. It wasn't a president; he was a governor of Texas, and he was the one. So, but again, so we do have Biden in there. He has Levine in there now, who is I think she's had a medical. And so you do see a lot of positive change coming. You know, you really, really do. I don't know what's going to happen in the next elections, because that's what, in America, this is what the right is running on, is anti-LGBT, especially anti-transgender. They're literally doing it. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying you're mutilating children. Nowhere in the world can you have genitalia surgery until you're 18 years old. They live in falsities. You know what I mean? Genitalia surgery. You know?
Yeah, so in Europe, in Germany or Ireland, when you're 16, also there's this singer now,
Kim Petras.
Yeah, she was first heard of when she was 14.
She had hers, and there are a few.
But she's German.
There's a girl in England. She's the daughter of the director of Mermaids.
Yeah, but this is the exact age is not important. The WPATH recently admitted that it should follow not strict rules but case-to-case basis.
But you're not 10 years old doing it. You're not 12 years old. You know, Dr.
What's important it's that they're fully conscious about themselves.
Yeah, and one of the things is too, which is what people don't realize, is for a vaginoplasty, okay, to transition your penis into a vagina, right? The surgeon, Dr. Bowers, was a good friend of mine, and she did my surgery. We became friends. She became my gynecologist. We just started doing some work together. And they want your penis to be full growth before they cut it and move it, because they use it. So does that make sense to you? You know, and so they want that to grow. They don't want to do these type of surgeries on somebody young. It just doesn't work. And mentally, you don't do that to a child, right? You know.
Exactly. Now in Poland, our right-wing government is trying to fearmonger the same way about our transgender community, and it's also not a secret that they have an American think tank thinking for them what to do in the campaign.
And it's scary. It's really scary, because you do have these people out there spreading Matt Walsh. Okay, do you know if you follow him, right? We are worse than Hitler, Stalin, Putin combined. I mean, because we're living our true gender. How are we affecting him? But he actually tweeted that we are the worst evil there is on the planet. Okay, just for us living who we are. All right, does this make sense? You know. Okay. And studies have shown that when you let a child transition at a young age, no surgeries, let their hair grow long, their makeup, their chosen name, depression has tended to disappear. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does for me, from my experience. Okay, well, we slowly have to come to an end. So maybe for the closing, what's your advice for Polish trans community?
Live your life comfortably, okay? I could not stand looking in the mirror and seeing a man every day. Sometimes you do have to wait until you grow up and you're out of your mom and dad's house, and sometimes mom and dad are not accepting, but you have to face yourself every day in the mirror for the rest of your life. Some people are going to lose their mom and dad. Some people are going to lose people. But overall, you're going to be comfortable in your life, and it is up to you. Live truthfully. I cannot harp on that enough. It's either do or die. And truthfully, you have to live comfortably to your true self, your true gender. Really, really do it, you know? And don't live a lie.
Okay, so thank you, Jessica, for visiting me in the studio. Thank you to our viewers. I hope, I hope. I know that your message will resonate in me. That our conversation will. I will think about it a lot.
Keep doing what you're doing. You know,
and just thank you again. You're such a great person, and such a convincing influence.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye. See you in a week.
Have you had a wonderful week.
Dobry wieczór Państwu. Mam nadzieję, że to jest dobry wieczór. Dla tych, którzy zeszli ze sceny, na pewno. Mam nadzieję, że jest to dobry wieczór również dla tych, dla których ci ludzie robią tyle dobrego. Wielkie brawa dla nich raz jeszcze. A my robimy tyle dobrego, na ile nas stać, używając narzędzi, które znamy najlepiej, czyli muzycznie, no i medialnie. Zawsze będę stała po dobrej stronie mocy. A wy kochacie różnymi być?
Przyszła do mnie ta melodia, pewnie nie opuści mnie, chociaż różne nuty co ja nią połączą się. możemy być melodią i jak piękny akord razem brzmieć. Cieszyć się harmonią, bo z nas każdy inny jest. Kochaj różnym być, kochaj więcej nic, bo tak długo jak kochasz siebie sam, możesz kochać świat, co urodę ma, w tym, że ciągle drga różnorodnością barw. Ku niebu jak pochodnia, wielobarwny ród siebie. Każdy kolor to historia, życzę cudnie. I my możemy być tą tęczą, tęczą piękną aż zabiera deszcz. Gdy w harmonii będziemy wciąż, choć wciąż tak pięknych ludzi myślimy. Kochaj różnym być, kochaj więcej nic, bo tak długo jak kochasz siebie sam, możesz kochać świat, co urodę ma, w tym, że ciągle drga różnorodnością barw. Kochaj, kochaj różnym być, kochaj różnym być, kochaj, kochaj różnym być, kochaj różnym być, kochaj, kochaj, kochaj różnym być, kochaj różnym być, kochaj, kochaj, kochaj różnym być, kochaj różnym być, kochaj więcej nic, bo tak długo jak kochasz siebie sam, możesz kochać świat, co urodę ma, z tym, że ciągle drga różnorodnością. Kochaj, kochaj różnym być, kochaj różnym być, kochaj, kochaj różnym być, kochaj różnym być. Dziękujemy bardzo! Gratulujemy bardzo!
Reset Obywatelski.